sinner comes before you.
I have sinned.
But you have sinned.
I have sinned. She's a sinner. I know I have sinned.
They make me a sinner.
I have sinned.
I have sinned.
Sin. It's a sin.
You are a sinner.
Sometimes that intro just hits me. Sorry. Hello, my name is Robbie. On here, I'm Templar Knight. Every person who believes in God but does not go to church has a story why. But whenever two or more people gather in God's name, He is there. So this is church. Welcome. I'm glad that you're here. From Paul's letter to the Romans, all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. The wages of sin is death. But God showed His love for us, that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Tonight's lesson, we're going after gluttony. I was hoping it would be an easy one after last week. So gluttony is a fancy word for an excess of eating and drinking. So, having too much food and drink. Okay, well, honestly, it doesn't seem that bad. I mean, if you got the food, you shouldn't let it go to waste, right? Didn't Mom always say, if you put that on your plate, you're gonna eat it? I mean, why is overeating a sin? Not gonna lie, this one is it's a little odd for me. Honestly, I don't remember a single lesson growing up about gluttony. For some reason, it's just one of those sins that just gets pushed aside and we don't talk about it. So I spent a little more time out doing my own research on this because I didn't come into this lesson with a base knowledge of what I should know. And wouldn't you know it, I struggle with gluttony. I mean, I never really realized it before, and honestly, I didn't think it was a problem. It's not like I'm going out to eat every day, and I don't go to super fancy restaurants and eat these overly expensive foods. This series, I've been pointing out how I struggle with each of these sins, in hopes that those of you out there will open your eyes and relate with me. Maybe you'll accept that you're struggling also. I mean, isn't that what they say? The first step to solving a problem is to admit you have a problem. So I'll go first. I'm a snacker. If my mind isn't stimulated enough, it will respond to that lack of stimulation with hunger. So if I'm not locked into what I'm doing, I'm going to start thinking that I'm hungry. It's like my brain can't tell the difference between being bored and being famished. So boredom is my enemy. I mean, to be fair, it goes the other way. If I'm super focused on something, I'm going to spend all day and completely forget to eat. Apparently that's where my belly is. It's stuck with being productive, being busy. Now before this week, I honestly didn't think I struggled with this. Because, I took a very superficial outlook on gluttony. See, I don't struggle with gluttony because I'm not fat. I mean, I'm not as skinny as I used to be, and when I see pictures of myself, I kind of wish I was a good 20 pounds smaller, but I'm not that big. I'm not one of those morbidly obese people you see on the TV who eat out every day and consume more in a day than I do in a week. So gluttony is not a problem that I have. I'm just a little big. And that's where the devil has me tricked. I was forcing a connection between gluttony and being overweight. And so a few days ago, I had a startling revelation. Gluttony isn't about how much you weigh. It's about self-control. And once I made that connection, it all started to make sense. All of these sins, we are told not to do them because they're bad for us in some way or another. And when it all comes down to it, every single one of these sins is about self-control. Lust, gluttony, greed, sloth, wrath, envy, pride. Every single one of these sins is something bad that has a negative impact in our lives. But more importantly, every single one of these sins tries to fill that hole inside of us. That emptiness that only God can fill. Sin tries to distract us and draw our attention away from God's plan for us. And as Christians, we're supposed to be Christ-like. We're supposed to follow where He leads us. We're supposed to walk the path God has for our lives. I mean, I say it here at the end of every stream. Keep an eye out for those neon-lit billboards, because if you ever feel lost and alone, know that God is there doing His best to help you find your way. I'm basically saying that God is constantly trying to get our attention, to show us how to get where He wants us to be. We're just not looking. We don't want to see the signs that say, left turn ahead, because we're all so focused on our own driving and where we want to go, and not admitting that maybe we're a little lost and that we want to fix this, we want to make it right. We don't want help or guidance. We're going to figure it out. You know, I constantly say, send me, God. I'll go. If you need something done, I'm the man. I'll do it. I mean, to be fair, I'd like to think that most of us here, we're ready to serve God if He just told us what He wants us to do. We just need Him to be more clear. God, can you literally send a billboard that says, Robbie, I need you to talk to this person about this? And that's where we're so confused. See, that's where the devil has us all tripped up. Because we're waiting for this big, beautiful sign. We're waiting for Him to tell us what to do. But He already told us what to do. Right there in the Bible. He has His instructions laid out for us. Read it. If you don't have a Bible and you're not comfortable looking on the internet for one, let me know. I'll get you one so you can have a physical hard copy in your hands. Read your Bible. I mean, this is what I found just in 5 minutes. You will not gratify the desires of the flesh. Keep your life free from the love of money. Vengeance is mine. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul, with all your strength and your mind. If we say we have no sin, we deceive ourselves. Submit yourself before God. Resist the devil. Jesus answered them, truly, I say to you, everyone who practices sin is a slave to sin. I could keep going. I literally copy-pasted that from a list of Bible verses about sin that I found today. But I think you get the point. See, we're waiting for a sign from God. And God already told us what he wants us to do. But we would rather sit back and treat his word like a buffet. And only listen to the parts that we want to listen to. And don't get me wrong, I'm saying we there. I'm a part of this too. See, I looked at this topic of gluttony and I was like, meh, it's not a big deal. Doesn't really matter. I mean, this is going to be an easy one. I mean, it's just about eating too much. And I was wrong. Like all the others, these sins are about self-control and doing as I'm told. And it took me this far in the series to figure it out. You know, Jesus said, if you love me, you will keep my commandments. The Bible says, do not sin. So if gluttony is a sin, no matter how petty I think it is, and yes, I think it's petty. I think that because the devil convinced me to think that way. And I just recently realized it, so I'm still kind of new at this fighting gluttony thing. Because I have to adjust my thinking and get over this. So if gluttony is a sin, let's fight back. Step 1. Admit you have a problem. How is gluttony negatively impacting your lives? How is it getting at you? Step 2. Self-control. See, I have to remind myself that my God is greater than anything that's going to come into my life. And if I can do all things through him when he gives me strength, I can beat this. Step 3. You know, I had all these steps written out about how to fight against gluttony, but honestly, when I was looking, a lot of what I was finding was just this stupid, simple, easy, hassle-free weight loss programs and supplements. I had to laugh because fighting gluttony isn't about losing weight. I was amused. This morning I woke up and in Discord, we have this channel and it's just a daily Bible verse. So every morning, I scroll up on the prayer requests. I go through the prayers. And if I've still got time after I'm done with all praying for everybody, I'll hop into the daily Bible verse. I was amused today because I've been sitting here with this tie-in between weight loss and gluttony. And today's Bible verse was Matthew chapter 7, verse 13. Don't look for shortcuts to God. The market is flooded with surefire, easygoing formulas for successful life that can be practiced in your spare time. Don't fall for that stuff, even though crowds of people do. The way to life, to God, is vigorous and requires total attention. Sorry, I found it amusing because of all the ways God tries to talk to me. And so often I'm just not listening. My head was stuck on weight loss. And so he threw a Bible verse at me that sounds a lot like these weight loss plans. So we're going to take this fight on against gluttony, and we're just going to stop at step 2. Self-control. You have to take responsibility, and you have to be accountable for your fight. You have to step up. Stop listening to the lies that the devil says when he talks about how this sin doesn't matter. It's sin. It matters. Don't make eye contact with yourself. And if you're not strong enough, reach out. Ask for help. See, this fight, I know my enemy. And I know how I'm going to handle it. For the past few days, I've figured out my battle plan. When it comes to food, I need to stop eating so often. I don't struggle with eating large amounts or over-the-top unhealthy food. I just snack all the time. And that's what I'm going to stop. So Robbie needs to take accountability for Robbie's actions and knock it off. And I can do that because I am stronger than this. Are you? Are you strong enough to take control of your eating and your drinking and fight back against the sin of gluttony? Oh yeah, I just threw drinking in there, all calm and nonchalant, and hoped you would pick up on what I said, but no, I'm not just gonna imply it. I'm gonna spell this out. Getting drunk is gluttony. Getting drunk is a sin. Man, I'm just coming out swinging today. I'm sorry if you feel like I'm calling you out. But I'm not sorry for calling you out. Because 3 days ago, I was in the same place. I was choosing not to look at my problems. Because the devil had me convinced that it wasn't a problem. And it was easier for me to believe that this isn't an issue. That gluttony only matters in extreme measures. The devil had me believe in it. It was just easier that way. So I'm just going to come out and admit it. I have failed. And I need to take the path God has for me. Even if it's harder and I have to show some accountability and take control of my actions. It's that, or I just sit back and continue to believe when the devil tells me that this sin doesn't matter. God's okay with this sin. Nah, I'm gonna handle this. I mean, it sucks because it's going to be hard and I have a lot of bad habits to break. But how can I say that I'm over here trying to follow God's path for me when I'm choosing to ignore half of the things He's telling me to do? When I'm choosing to ignore half the things He's telling me not to do? I'm not going to lie. This has not been an easy series for me. When I decided to go after sin, I was thinking like, wow, this is such an edgy topic, and it's got such a great intro video. This is going to be such a cool series. Turns out, I'm not enjoying this series. This is not one of the series I'm going to look back on and talk about how much fun I had and everything that I learned. And if I'm struggling with it this much, I can only imagine what it's like for you guys. I'm struggling with this series because it is hard for me to accept that the guy on the monitor is talking about me and the things that I need to change in my life. I don't like that guy shining a light on all of the things that I need to be better at. I'd rather think that I have it all together and these topics don't really apply to me. I've got this all figured out. I'm good enough. It was much easier being a Christian, willing to believe when the devil told me my sins don't matter. I say that and it sounds so stupid. But I've literally been a Christian thinking that it's okay to have what I consider to be a tolerable amount of sin in my life. It's time for me to step up. God, you say I can show my love for you by doing what you've told me to. And if you're going to tell me that I need better self-control on how I eat and drink, amongst many other things, but if this is what we're touching on today, okay, I got this. Maybe I don't think gluttony is a big issue, but me not listening to you, that is. So if this is what you're going to tell me, then let me prove that I can be obedient. So I'm going to say this prayer. And if you feel like you're ready for a change, if you want to break the cycle of sin in your life, feel free to pray this with me tonight. I was enslaved by my sin. But Jesus broke my chains and freed me from my sins. I am strong enough. I am not going back.
A sinner comes before you.
I have sinned.
But you have sinned.
I have sinned. She's a sinner. I know I have sinned.
They make me a sinner.
I have sinned.
I've sinned.
Sin.
It's a sin.
You are a sinner.